On Sunday, Lebanon voted in its most crucial election since the 2019 protests. The country is going through its worst economic crisis in decades, one that has been brought about as a result of poor financial policies. So these parliamentary elections were particularly crucial. Now it looks like the Hezbollah and its allies have lost their parliamentary majority. This is a big setback for the bloc. Hezbollah and its allies have won 62 seats in the parliament, falling short of the 65 seats needed for a majority. While the Hezbollah has retained its seats, its other allies, like the Free Patriotic Movement, suffered some losses. The Hezbollah is currently Lebanon's most powerful faction. It was founded back in 1982 and is backed by Iran financially and politically. The Shiite group's political sway has expanded since 2018. In the last election, together with its allies, Hezbollah won a parliamentary majority. Hezbollah and its allies won 71 seats in the 128-member parliament. But this time, it did not even manage to reach 64. For the Hezbollah, one of the major shocks was in the central Alay district. Hezbollah ally Druze politician Talal Aslan lost his seat to newcomer Mark Dow. Aslan was the scion of one of Lebanon's oldest political dynasties. Meanwhile, Mark ran the elections on a reform agenda. Two Hezbollah-backed candidates in South Lebanon also lost to anti-establishment candidates. The Tehran-backed group also registered some gains in Sunni constituencies. These usually vote for candidates backed by former Prime Minister Saad Hariri. The Sunni leader's exit from politics meant that those votes were up for grabs. Most of the new reformist members of parliament were voted in by Sunni majority areas. At least 13 independents who backed the 2019 protest movement won seats. 12 of them will sit in parliament for the first time. This win comes as a major breakthrough for the independents. It reflects public anger at the country's ruling elite and lack of accountability for the Beirut port blast. In the capital Beirut, at least 5 out of 19 elected members of parliament are independent. The independent members of parliament can now weigh in on the government formation. Most of them are anti-Hezbollah, but it is not sure if they will align with other parties. Meanwhile, the group that has made some gains is the Lebanese forces. The Saudi-aligned group claims to have overtaken the Free Patriotic Movement, making it the largest Christian party in the parliament. This is a title that has been held by the Free Patriotic Movement since 2005. The Lebanese forces got established in 1976 as Lebanon descended into a civil war. It was created by Bashir Gemayel, a Maronite Christian. Samir Jejer took control of the movement in 1986. The Lebanese forces agreed to the peace deal that ended the civil war in 1991. Lebanese authorities banned the Lebanese forces in 1994, jailing many Lebanese activists and seizing their assets. The LF is one of Hezbollah's biggest opponents. The LF has stayed out of government since 2019, when then Prime Minister Hariri quit during nationwide protests. What makes the election even more complicated is the sectarian power-sharing system. In Lebanon, the president must be a Maronite, the prime minister is a Sunni, and the speaker of the parliament must be a Shia. While Hezbollah and its allies have lost their parliamentary majority, no other bloc now appear to have the majority. This could lead to a political deadlock as deeply divided factions hash out power-sharing deals. The next parliament must elect a speaker. This is before it nominates a prime minister to form a cabinet. Lawmakers are also due to elect a president to replace WION, whose term ends on October 31st. Any delay in cabinet formation may further postpone reforms that are needed to address the economic crisis and unlock donor aid. And for more on this, our correspondent Gadi Francis is joining us live from Beirut, Lebanon. Gadi Francis, good to see you. There is so much anticipation from Lebanon as the country awaits the final results. How has Hezbollah fared in these elections? And has it managed to effectively maintain the status quo?
Well, Eric, everything is about perspective. Looking at the global news and the global agencies and the local campaigners and the political parties' press releases, it's all a matter of perspective. If we're going to measure in terms of the past and the present, Hezbollah members, all of them, 100% of the Hezbollah members who ran, got their office. Some of the Hezbollah allies, like 2 seats in the south, were beaten by anti-establishment candidates. The Hezbollah ally, the main Christian ally that used to have the biggest majority, is neck to neck with LF. So now it's all based on how we are going to calculate. And this is what makes it even more complex and makes us sure that this country is going towards a political deadlock. Because in each and every matter and vote, these alignments would really shift and change and reshuffle. Some matters that are related to Hezbollah in the regional arena might have a solid no from more candidates than the local status quo. For example, in matters of Speaker of the Parliament, it is now fair to say that it is sealed for Nabih Berri, given the circumstances of the Parliament. But it is not sealed to say what the government after that would be or what the presidency would be. This is why it is a very complicated issue in Lebanon. In terms of majority, yes, it used to have 71. 71 majority used to give it the power to hold the parliament, to the parliamentary sessions or not, to be more powerful in terms of decision making. But also the 57 or the 62 that they sealed right now still is the biggest bloc inside the parliament for one alliance. The Lebanese forces did gain in terms of their past. They used to have 10 MPs and now they have 17 plus or minus 1, because we're still neck to neck on that. But the FPM lost because it used to have more than 20 and now the maximum that it can reach is 19. So it is all a matter of perspective. In terms of decision making, very little has changed. Right. The only new reality is the presence of Markdow and such candidates, which shook the political class, beating a famous banker in the south, beating a veteran Syrian-era kind of politician also in the south, beating Talar Arslan, he's a dynasty, and a Hezbollah ally. These were more of an iconic kind of wins. On the political arena, it still has to be discovered day to day as the lobbying is happening and the reshuffling of the political structure inside the parliament is happening.
Live from Beirut, Lebanon, our correspondent Gadi Francis. Thank you. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.